Hello everyone, my name is David McLeod and I am your Life Mastery Coach. I'd like to welcome you to the Gifts of Wisdom Summit, featuring conversations from all of the authors of our #1 international Amazon best-selling book, Gifts of Wisdom, Practices for Healing and Empowerment, that was just published this past October. So be sure to grab your copy on Amazon. The link is https://bit.ly/ddm-gifts of wisdom. Now that may sound like a mouthful, but don't worry, I'm going to put that link right on the screen here so you can see it. Just go ahead and grab your copy. Now this incredible collection showcases 22 authors who each share their inspiring stories and powerful practices to empower and uplift. Before I proceed any further, though, I want to introduce you to my co-host, Janine Savient, who lives down in wonderful and beautiful New Zealand. Hello, Janine. How are you doing today?
Hi, David. I'm doing absolutely wonderfully here at the bottom of the earth.
Right.
Lovely to be here with both you gentlemen today.
Thank you, Janine, and welcome. And so what's on our agenda for today?
So today we have with us Steve Halligan. He is a featured author in the beautiful book, The Gifts of Wisdom. He wrote chapter 14, and the title of that chapter is Beyond Limits, Discovering Your Why to Know Your Purpose. And I must say, I actually I listened to your audio yesterday, Steve, and I found it fabulous. So welcome to you today.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here with you.
Wonderful. Now, I'm just going to read your bio out so that the audience can get, the listeners can get a real feel for you before we really get into conversation. From an awkward, shy teenager lacking direction and confidence, Steve has gone on to run a Dream Vision wellness retreat with his wife in New Zealand and compete in the toughest ultra-endurance cycling races around the world. His experiences serving and sharing wellness tools at the retreat have helped him in his cycling pursuits, and pushing endurance limits has given him many learnings that he brings into his life. His ultra-cycling journey filled a void and became a huge catalyst for a renewed sense of purpose. Steve continues pushing his limits, learning and growing, and now shares deep insights and knowledge in his holistic endurance coaching and programs. Wow. The takeaway that is being given today within this shared time together is, in the endurance cycling space, Steve went from believing it was impossible for anyone, let alone himself, to ride these crazy distances. His curiosity grew, and over the years, his passion for cycling expanded exponentially. He started slowly, testing his limits by participating in smaller races alongside more experienced riders. Before long, he found himself riding distances that once seemed far beyond what he thought possible. Yet, it's not just about the physical act of cycling. Mindset plays a crucial role. Today, he combines physical fitness with yoga, breath work, affirmations, energy work, meditation, and more, creating a well-rounded, holistic approach to stay in the best possible shape for his adventures. He believes that the methods he shares are not just applicable to endurance sports, but can benefit anyone who has the curiosity and passion to take on a new challenge in any area of this amazing life.
Wow. I mean, doesn't that sound amazing, Janine?
When I listened to Steve's audio yesterday, I could just feel his energy as he was sharing his chapter.
Right.
It's just amazing, David.
Right. It's beautiful. And Steve, I know that I have done some cycling. I've done a marathon in my life. Big deal, huh? And I have also ridden, I think the longest distance I've ridden was like 60 miles or something like that. And I found that pretty intense. So here you're talking about going from 100K, I think it was, up to 6,000 kilometers. That's mind-boggling. How do you go from 100K to 6,000K?
Yeah, good question. I don't really know. Step by step, literally, just step by step, pedal stroke by pedal stroke, and just learning as I go, as Janine was saying in the intro there, and gaining experience and starting small, really, doing smaller races, getting experience, riding with other riders, and learning so much on every event I done. And then it kept building, and then the confidence grew. And I could do more and more. And as you said, like before I started, 100 kilometers was like mind-boggling to me. And then to be able to do 100 kilometers in a day easily and go on to ride 400 kilometers in 24 hours in some of these races, it still blows my mind, to be honest. 10 years after starting this ultra endurance, it really does blow my mind that it's possible.
All right. Well, so what's next? Are you going to do like around the world or something like that?
It is a goal of mine to ride around the world, and there is records to be broken in fastest times around the world. But I would just like to ride around the world at a more, an easy pace. Taking maybe 3 or 4 years. I think that would be pretty amazing. But yeah, there's other big races in my horizon before doing that. Yeah, 100%.
So, Steve, what would you say the biggest learning that you've taken so far from the 10 years in the sport? What would be the #1 biggest learning?
I think when you do find your purpose, you really and go why. As you alluded to in the intro there, going through my teenage years and early 20s, I was a bit lost, I was drinking and partying. So to find, and underneath I was always an athlete, but I just let it go, I let it slip away with all that kind of stuff. And then to find cycling and to a real purpose, it just gave me a whole new lease of life. And I've just dived into it and learned so much from us. It's been transformational. Like each one of these races is a transformation in itself, I think. And I continue to learn each one. It's just incredible.
And I know
I
that
can imagine that is true. I mean, I look at this and I think, I just can't imagine what it takes out of me to be able to ride those kinds of distance, to put that kind of energy outward. How do you balance your energies so that you maintain this highly competitive and some might call it extreme kind of athleticism, and still remain grounded and centered within your being? How do you do that?
Well, I try to make it fun first. Even my training, I don't take it too seriously. And I'm not one that like crunching numbers all the time. So I always try and make it fun. And be relaxed about it and not to put too much pressure on myself and have too many expectations. I have big goals. I want to win races and that. So it's finding that balance. And then during races, it takes a lot out of you physically, mentally, emotionally. It really does. You're just so depleted after finishing these, especially the really long ones, the 2-week ones. And during the race, I'm always kind of, working on myself. I have my own little practices that I use, like running the energy through my body, because, I get some aches and pains, and knowing that everything is energy, I just concentrate and visualize energy running through my body, out through my head, coming from the earth. I'm just always running the energy so it doesn't become static. And that really helps. It helps me anyway. And that's one of the tools I use. Another thing I use during races is just grounding, taking my cycling shoes off and putting my feet in water, running water, really helps me as well. It just connects me to the earth. And I'm always connecting to the mountains, the trees and the animals as I'm riding through these vast landscapes, not seeing anyone for days sometimes. So I really connect to the earth, and that just gives me a great energy. And I use all these tools all the time, as well as mantras and everything, because it really is such a long endurance, taxing on the body experience that I just utilize everything I know and everything I've learned, and I'm still learning. Every race I learn something.
Beautiful.
I know that you and your wife were running a wellness and health retreat for many years, and it could be looked upon from many people that running a health and wellness retreat and being an endurance cyclist are very, very different ends of the spectrum. But how do you weave those together? What did they bring to you within both those energies?
I think running the wellness retreat where we were practicing yoga, meditation, massage, all these things complemented what I was doing in the endurance fields, and vice versa. I'd bring some of my experiences in races to share at the retreats with some of our customers and clients. So it really was a really good union in that respect. What else? God, I don't know. Yeah, just really just sharing all that I've learned from my races with the people at the retreats. They seem to really respond to us, and yeah, they seem to get something from us, and I was happy to share. Yeah, I don't know, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. There's presence within both, isn't there? You have to be fully present with your cycling. You have to be fully present at the retreat with your clients. So there's deep presence that comes into both these areas.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's so important, being present. Yeah, and people can feel that as well, and then you can make that connection, and then hopefully, they get something from it.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the things that you mentioned a moment ago, and it's kind of raised a question for me. You talked about running the energy, and I think I know what you mean, and I'm sure Janine knows what you mean, but maybe some of our viewers might not understand exactly what that terminology means. Running the energy. Can you describe a little bit about what that tool might be like for somebody who's not familiar with that terminology?
Sometimes I just visualize the energy as a light, like maybe a white light or a blue light. And when I say running the energy, I mean, like I'm visualizing this white light or blue light, whatever you want, whatever it wants to be for you. For instance, running up through my body, say starting at my feet. And like sometimes I might get an ache in my knee or something. So I'll run the energy from the earth, or if I'm cycling, I do it as I'm cycling, up through the pedals into my leg, and then I'll kind of maybe concentrate a bit more on a place that I have some issue, some challenge, some ache or something, and I'll keep it running. So that's how I visualize it anyway, just as a light, and I'm running it through my body, out through my arms, out through my head, and then I let it go, and then it comes up again. Just constantly running the energy, because everything's energy.
Yeah.
My bike is energy, my helmet's energy,
Right.
all my gears. So just keep
Well,
it flowing.
I get that, and I suppose on some level you also, I mean, I'm just making a projection here because this is something I do. Bringing that light into your body, and then perhaps pausing at different places where you might be experiencing some aches and pains, and inviting that light to do its magic with healing.
Yeah, like I just concentrate on cells replenishing every
Oh, I like
second,
that.
every second. Yeah, just nourishing the cells, replenishing. The light is doing its magic.
Right.
Really, you're working with yourself, aren't you? Because I mean, we're growing into the remembering now that we are light itself. We are the frequency of light itself. So you are right there working with yourself on that level, aren't you, Steve?
Yeah, and it's stuff I learned at the retreat as well. And as you mentioned, my wife, Mary Jo, we ran it together. And she is, she was doing this before me. So I've learned so much from her as well about energy and energy work, energy healing. So then I've just kind of done my own little modality around it, and I brought it to my endurance cycling, and that's what I practice, and it seems to work for me.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So other
Steve,
than the major, oh, sorry, David, you go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Janine. You go ahead.
I was just going to say, other than the major challenge that you describe in your chapter in the Gifts of Wisdom book, what other challenges have you faced that have really tested your resolve, Steve?
Oh God, like I've had so many challenges actually. And in the particular race I describe in the book, the Tour Divide, which goes from Canada to Mexico, 4,400 kilometers, I've done it 3 times now. And each one I've had some pretty big challenges, to be honest. I don't know why it's in this race, but yeah, 2019, I had a couple of crashes and broke a small bone in my hand, and it was swollen up, made it difficult to ride. Just a couple of crashes in the snow and mud, going through Montana and a little bit through Idaho. And then when we got to Colorado that year, we had a spring storm that dumped a load of snow on one mountain before Steamboat Springs. And only 4 riders got over the mountain before it became impassable. And I was one of them 4. So four of us made a breakaway, as the others that were coming up behind got stuck in a lodge on the other side of the mountain pass. And after Steamboat Springs, we went over Lynx Pass and got caught in another snowstorm. And it was absolutely freezing, super challenging, had to cross some rivers. And eventually, as another couple of days passed, the temperatures warmed up, and, starting to feel a bit of energy come back into my body. But then when I was close to New Mexico, my knee started giving me some issues. Above my knee, I had these shooting pains, and it ended up I could barely pedal, I could barely walk, and I had to stop, set up my tent and stop for 10 hours just to let it rest. And I was doing a lot of work on it, massage and everything. I was just doing whatever I could because I couldn't move anymore. And 10 hours stopped in a race like this is a long time, a very long time for me anyway. It's normally just 3 or 4 sleeping each night. So yeah, so I lost a couple of places in the standings in that particular race and continued on, and I made it to the finish. I was 500 kilometers from the finish. So I kind of joked that I made it to the end with one leg, really, because my left leg was doing all the work. So that was a struggle. And then last year I went again to do the Tour Divide, and I got tonsillitis pretty bad 5 days before the race, and I was in bed for 2.5 days, thinking I wouldn't be able to make the start line. My body was aching, my tonsils were big, I couldn't eat for 2 days, I could barely drink water. But I made it to the start line, and I finished this, and I actually got my best time out of the 3 races that year. So plenty of challenges.
You never know what the universe and nature are going to throw in your path, do you? I think there's a great learning there that sometimes, you got to find your way around, over, through, or underneath whatever obstacles show up. And I think what you're also sharing here that I think is very important for people to understand is you made it this far. This is true for any one of us. You're here now, so any obstacle that ever showed up in your life, you found a way around it. And here you are today. So why do you think that the next obstacle is going to be any worse?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I talk about in the book, adaptability and surrendering to what is and just moving on. And all the challenges are, they're obstacles and challenges, but there's a learning from them. You're more equipped for the next one then.
Right. So I know that you have a program that you're offering here now, and I just want to remind people that the title of this conversation is "What Else is Possible? No Limits." So, Steve, what is it that you want people to know about your process or your offer that they don't know already?
Well, I think people, there's more, people are more capable than what they think they are. And that's what I like to encourage people, thinking that they can't do this or they can't do that. And I'm not just talking about endurance cycling either. It can be any sport or just in life, you know. That's why I think my holistic endurance programs and coaching is relatable to other things than sport, you know, essentially, because it can translate across many spectrums. But yeah, I guess more generally, I do concentrate on the cyclists, whether they're beginning or they're well-established racers who are looking to get, you know, top results. My program, I cover holistic, you know, the whole thing. It's more than the physical, it's the mental, it's the nutrition, it's the gear and the equipment. And I love talking about all that. And that's what I share in my coaching and my programs.
You know, Steve, through many, many years of doing one-on-one consultations with clients, one of the greatest things that one of the biggest parts that I have found is how easily humans use excuses or reasons why they can't, why not. And just from listening to you today, from listening to your audio yesterday, you don't have that. You don't have that resistance. Though you don't use those excuses. Your why not is why not do this, not all the reasons why you can't do this. And I mean, that in itself is an incredible piece to teach others. You're modeling this in your life. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think by just doing what you love, and in my case, cycling, you're just modeling us and you're making it look, you know, fun. And yeah, like some people think it's absolutely crazy. I use my holidays to go on 2 weeks of this extreme sport, but for me, it's my comfortable place. Like I'm so comfortable on the bike. In other areas of my life, like even signing up to be an author in this book was, you know, an uncomfortable place for me to go. But I think taking these uncomfortable steps is really, really powerful. So that's why I encourage people to, you know, you can do it. Just take the step, get out of the comfort zone.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like a beautiful gift of wisdom unto itself. But we're getting close to wrapping up here, Steve, and I just wanted to ask you if you have another really powerful gift of wisdom you'd like to share with people before we close.
Just breathe deeply, consciously. You know, it always gets me out of trouble. You know, don't panic in a moment that you face a challenge. I always just take a few deep breaths, and I talk about that in my chapter as well. It's one of the tools, and it's one that's really, really huge for me. It just brings you back to the present and regains your focus. It works for me, and I think it's a big one. Breath.
Right.
Absolutely. Breath is so important, isn't it? It's the giving and the receiving of the life force energy. That's how I personally see breath. So the deeper we breathe, the more consciously we breathe, the more we are present, the more we're in our body. So it's a beautiful, beautiful part to model for others and to show others.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
absolutely.
Yeah. So, Steve, I understand you have a free gift that you'd like to offer people today. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that and provide the link so we can put it into the video?
Yeah, I've got a little gift for people. It's a 22-page little digital booklet, I guess an ebook, and it's my top 4 insights from a decade of endurance riding, cycling, turning challenges into triumphs. And
I like
you can
that.
get, yeah, thank you. You can get that by going to my website, which is in the book. It's selfpropelled13.com, and go to the Holistic Endurance page, and there'll be a link there. And from there, you'll be able to access the link to get this free gift. Hope you enjoy.
So that link will appear on the screen here, just so everybody knows.
Great, thank you.
It's been a wonderful, wonderful time sharing with you over the last half an hour, Steve. And you're an incredible model for myself personally. I would say you're an incredible model for presence in your life. So, and that's something that every one of us are growing into now, becoming more present and awake and aware in our life. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Janine. I really appreciate you too.
Thank you.
So thank you, friends, for watching this conversation. Thank you, Janine, for being here and being such a brilliant facilitator and co-host. And thank you, Steve, most of all, for being our guest today and sharing your wisdom.
Thank you so much, David. It's been a pleasure and an honor.
See you later, everybody. We'll see you on the next episode of Gifts of Wisdom Summit Conversations. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.